Good afternoon, my fellow Singaporeans. And yes, and just having found employment after graduating, may I also add, and good afternoon as well, fellow workers. Today, I'm not here to speak about my experience in the workforce, for I hardly have any. Instead, what I want to speak to you is what a workforce should be in a true democracy and what representation we ought to have as workers. I want to talk to you about the principles of running a government, about human freedoms. I want to talk to you about the need for us to organize ourselves as workers. You may wonder, what this have to do with employment and our standards of living? But it turns out, quite a lot actually. Now, our government has been trying hard to convince all of us that freedoms are dangerous, that freedoms of speech leads to racial and religious division, that freedom of assembly to gather in public will cause riots, that workers' unions will cause protests and strikes and all sorts of disruptions. Maybe that might have been the case when you bring strangers from different lands to live together 50 years ago, before Singapore was founded. But after 50 years of living in the same community and society, after 50 years of living together and knowing each other, they are still giving us this same sort of excuse. You might ask, what's wrong with not having these freedoms? Because the purpose of these freedoms isn't to stir up racial hatred or to disrupt the economy. Those are merely issues to distract you. The reason why these freedoms are considered fundamental freedoms is because they are necessary to give you a voice in your own country. Because while a single person standing alone is powerless in the face of large corporations, many people united possesses strength and influence that can fight for their common interests. This can come in the form of negotiations or the ability to afford legal battles. Now, how labor unions help people, help the workers? It's because they have the ability to fight against unfair working conditions and to help you ask for a reasonable salary for increasing costs of living. Now, I want to tell you about a story about my family. Back in the 1990s, my dad was earning about 2.5K as a technical operator, a machine operator. This is the same kind of salary that we can expect of the same kind of job today, even though prices of HDBs have increased by 10 times. The cost of living has gone up. Now, without unions, without labor unions, there's no one to fight for you. The government certainly isn't trying to help get you higher paying jobs. So we are left here on our own to suffer. Now, powerful unions actually can even prevent governments from raising the taxes like GST and the recent water hikes. It's because of the influence of a large group of people. But Singapore doesn't have any such group of people. In fact, what you have is a toothless NTUC, appointed by the government. Now, their job isn't to express your views, to get your views heard. What they are doing is just to manage your demands, right? To make sure that you don't go out and protest, to make sure you don't go out and disrupt the economy. But that defeats the entire purpose of a union, because a union is supposed to be able to represent you. You are supposed to be the one in control. You are supposed to be able to appoint the leaders in your own union, not having the government parachute a minister down. Now, and if all else fails, because you are in control of the union, even if the government doesn't represent you, the union should be your last resort and represent your interests in the country. A government is meant for the people. So why does the government try to suppress our freedoms to associate, to form unions? The government tries to suppress. Okay, so I must wait for you. Wait for you to come. So what job does the government have in suppressing our opinions, our demands, and our actions? How can they claim that they are representing us when they deny us a say on how our own country is run? Never have I encountered a government so afraid of its people that this is what they resort to in case we misbehave. So what happens is that our government is in fact run more like a business than people elected to voice our interests. And it's not one of those compassionate business that is willing to share its profits with the employees. No, even now when the economy is suffering, they are highly paid and they promote more ministers. They are paying themselves even more money while we suffer. And just yesterday, our Prime Minister told the union leaders that Singaporeans must go out and steal someone else's meal. This isn't... What kind of statement is this? Instead of encouraging job creation for us, he wants us to compete for even fewer jobs. And what happens when there are no jobs left for the rest of us to take up? Then are we supposed to cannibalize on ourselves, on our own people, for us to get that meal that we need to survive? This is what happens when you have a government and who is acting like it is just managing the company. And this management has grown further and further out of touch with the employees because the employees don't have a say in the company that we happen to be in this country we happen to live in. So I think this is something quite unfair, that all avenues to voice our problems with our work, our cost of living, our employment, and right now our unemployment is rising. All avenues to do so are close to us. Ultimately, what we want as workers is simple. We want the ability to make a living and a fair compensation for our work. But we can't have that when the government keeps working against us. Yeah. Thank you very much.